All right, we'll pause on the Super Bowl preview comments, but we'll focus on this. Miami, the most potent passing offensive attack this season. First in scoring, first in total offense. Now they're facing off against a strong Philly pass rush on Sunday night, but a Philly secondary that is struggling. So looking at this matchup, David, I want to start to you because Philly, they got a tough test, especially knowing they've got some banged up players in that secondary. Still TBD on if Darius Slay is going to be able to suit up and play this week. Same with Jalen Carter. What's the biggest question mark on how they can stop Miami?
Well, the number that Rob just referenced, that's what you do when you go and you sit in that team room on the meeting day when you start talking about the opponent and you see the 500 yards they're putting up on offense. You're like, well, what do we do here? Like, what's the mode of operation? I think that it starts with obviously keeping two safeties back, right? Keeping all those throws in front of you. And so what does that do? That puts a lot of pressure on your defensive front. So for Philly, you're going to have to just suck it up, play, rush four. Hopefully your defensive line, which is deep, and if Jalen plays, is probably a little bit more potent than most teams that they're going to face. They can do it, right? But it's going to have to be one of those situations where let's try to force Miami into going 10, 12, 14 plays and kind of make them be patient and see if they can do that, see if our pressure can get there. I think that's the key.
Don't give up the explosives. And I know defensive coordinators don't like to hear this, but just be okay with a bunch of yards going up and down the field in between the 20s and just play tight red zone defense. I think they'll be fine.
Because they'll start gashing you here. Those explosive like this.
Get out of hand quickly.
That offense can look like a blur in a lot of ways. But from an Eagles perspective here, you mentioned the fact that Slay might not play in this game. But for the Eagles offense, it's not exactly like they were world beaters in that loss against the Jets. So who's that guy that you would point to that you should say, hey, that dude's got to step it up?
Oh, Devontae Smith. I mean, catch the damn ball, to use his own words, right, after the game. That's exactly what he said. He gave no excuses about it. He understands exactly where he is. But this kid's superpower is his ability to route run, contort his body in different positions, and have great hands. That's like his superpower. I'm not worried about Devontae Smith. I really think that he'll bounce back. I mean, he's one of the top receivers in terms of route running and speed and all of those things in the National Football League. But I will say this. They got a brutal schedule coming up that includes, the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys a couple times, Kansas City, Buffalo. Like, all of these teams have great secondaries, and you already start to see Jalen Hurts start to lock in on A.J. Brown every single time he drops back. It's been, I think he's starting to lose a little confidence in Devontae Smith. I will say this. To have a guy like Julio Jones walk into that building this week, that could have a reverse effect. It could nudge him and get him going, but could also, have him respond negatively. I'm interested in seeing how that goes.
But both Brown and Smith have over 20% of the team's targets this season. A.J. Brown, however, over double the receiving yards.
Oh, man, but he's a dog.
He is. Like, I don't blame him for forcing A.J. Brown. He's a good one.
Yeah, I also want to see what this running game starts looking like from Philadelphia perspective. They've been going vertical a whole lot.
Trying to shut that down and make them throw it.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
I don't know if we would have this conversation before the season. We're going to have it now, though. Tail the tape here between these two teams.
Let's tail the tape. Let's do this, man. Come on.
It's a great
tail the tape. What we popping up here? Okay, we got Tua Tagovailoa. You got the quarterback.
It's interesting, man. Like, after the Super Bowl, even though they lost, this would be hard. Like, I'd be like, of course it's going to be Jalen, right?
Yeah.
But it's really Tua. Tua has played the best football, and if he can stay healthy, then I think the edge is with Miami because he's been efficient. You've shown some beautiful film of him throwing with some great anticipation, layering the football, throwing into open windows. A lot of windows there.
Yeah, I will say this for Jalen Hurts just before we move on to the run game. They got to get their game right. Like, him and offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, they got to get their game right. I think they'll bounce back in some way, shape, or form. Run game. Oh, this one tough, man. Because I think they're averaging like 1 billion yards running the football, man, because all that space that's created for all that speed. But I'm going to go to Philadelphia Eagles. I like the line of scrimmage. And just as we talked about with Jalen Hurts, this passing game has to revolve around the fact that he forces defenses to play 11-on-11 football because of his running game abilities. I think we have 6 or 7 design quarterback runs for Jalen Hurts.
I actually like that. Top rushing team in the league, but I think that you're right. This team is much better and more prepared to run the football. Receiver-wise,
this is
it's two of the scariest. You would think that, Yam, right? But Devontae's dropping the football. Imran just laid it out. It's the Dolphins, right? It's Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in that space that Mike McDaniels creates. It's explosive. It's fun. It's dynamic. The quarterback is involved in that, but these receivers are so dynamic and scary.
Yeah, it's actually not fair, David.
It really is.
It's not fair to have these wing backs that's supposed to be running backs of the 60s, running the football down, running routes, but it's all good. We're going to go defense. Defense, I think I'm going to go to Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, guys, they're just too deep. They have a lot of rushers. I know Jalen Carter will not be there. He was a little bit banged up, but they still have Derek Barnett. They still have Fletcher Cox. They still have Brandon Graham. Oh, yeah, Brandon Graham's a backup. They still got a lot of guys, so I have to go the defense.